Hello everybody, welcome to my video. Today I'll be talking about video games again. Video games are very important to me. I love video games. Ever since I was a kid, I played video games. Thinking about games, everybody has their own taste. One thing I noticed when it comes to games. Obviously, just like movies, are subjective. People love what they love. People don't like what they don't like. And what I find interesting is, what's wildly popular isn't always what I gravitate towards. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And when it comes to games, I'm a little bit of a mixture. Like, most of the popular games that are within my genre that I gravitate towards, I do end up liking. But all the vastly consumed games are not necessarily games that appeal to me. So I don't really play that many first-person shooter games. Actually, any type of shooting games, I don't usually gravitate towards those. So games like Halo, Call of Duty. I know those games are hugely popular. Those games are probably one of the biggest selling games. But those I do respect them for what they are. I definitely see their appeal, but they never really grabbed me. Really, I'm into a lot of other genres though. I do play some action adventure games. One genre for me that has always grabbed me ever since I was a kid. The reason why I got into video games at all, and the PlayStation in general, was because of fighting games. Fighting games are popular, but I've noticed that they aren't the most popular. They have a very specific audience they cater towards. Mostly men that are, dare I say it, some of them very technical about how they play games. I'm not as much, but the fighting game community is a very particular gaming community that I've been a part of. And there's things, even though I love fighting games. Fighting games are my favorite. I absolutely adore fighting games. But some things, when it comes to all the technical talk about how, frames and the distance and the exact, punish move you have to use, the exact sort of metrics of every little attack and every little command that you have to press. Those don't interest me, as topics of discussion as much. Because I feel like if you sometimes you have talent, sometimes you don't. If you have the talent to win, you're gonna win. You can always improve your skills, but at the end of the day, some guys are just gonna be better than you. Just gonna get gas whooped. And that's all there is to it. But despite how hard people talk about how hard fighting games can be, that's why some people don't play them. And not to say that I'm, the best, because I suck at some games. Here in this video, I can share with you the top reasons why I love fighting games. Number one, the diverse character roster. Fighting games are woke as fuck. Not to be an SJW about this, because they're annoying, but fighting games have some of the most diverse character rosters, I would say, in almost any genre. You got your Asian kung fu fighting games like Tekken, Dead or Alive, Virtua Fighter, Mortal Kombat, etc. And even those games have a very diverse list. You have your American fighters. You have at least a third of the cast is usually women. So you have strong female characters included, which is awesome to me. You have really unique characters. All of them, the guys and the girls, they're badass in some ways. I mean, their personality or in their looks, the way they fight. And it really gives a diversity and a depth to the genre that you don't always see in every other game. I can spend hours just like learning the characters, and also like learning their backstories and learning their combos, learning the fighting style, how their fighting style matches the real life fighting style that they're using. And it's all very, very interesting. Mortal Kombat, for example, in Mortal Kombat, you have somebody like Scorpion, Ninja, a freaking Hellspawn demon with a flaming skull for a face like Ghost Rider underneath his mask. Who shoots a freaking spear at you. And on the other hand, you have someone like my boy from Tekken, Kazuya Mishima, who uses karate, but a very specific karate that he learned from his father that was passed down from the family tree, from the Mishima family tree, down to his son Jin. And it's like, that's a really interesting, really deep, deep explanation for this character, for this fighting style that you don't always see in every game. You have a whole lineage, a whole history. You have a life, a sense of involvement in this. That's really interesting. You have the range of nationalities between the characters. You have some Asians, obviously, some white characters, some black characters, some Brazilian characters like Eddie Gordo. There's capoeira, like breakdancing, fighting style with breakdancing. How crazy is that? You have someone like Yoshimitsu, which is a sword. You have Soul Calibur, which is an all weapon-based, mostly sword-based fighting game with staffs and nunchucks. Each character with their own unique style. It's also very interesting. You have Dead or Alive with their fast-paced kung fu action, but it's just awesome. And each character has their own style that's also martial arts heavy, but also larger than life enough, exaggerated enough to be a blast and be fun, over the top enough, but still weighing that little bit of realism into there. With Dead or Alive and with also Virtual Fighter, which inspired both Tekken and Dead or Alive. You have this emphasis on martial arts, on pretty realistic martial arts, with an exaggerated, video game, sort of setting and moves, but all the moves are based somewhat in reality. And that's the really cool thing about fighting games. There's so much to them. You can never really play a fighting game to its fullest unless you're some type of expert. There's always gonna be something for you to learn. There's always gonna be moves. Each character has, in most fighting games, especially the 3D ones, have tons of moves, and they can be mixed and matched so many different ways, so many different tactics, so many different ways. And this is where people get really technical about the games, because they talk about all the different ways you gotta play and how technical they are, and the difference between each fighting game, especially with Tekken and Virtual Fighter. But you can focus on that. But you can also just focus on the aesthetics and the presentation, and the graphics, and the feeling of just the fun feeling, just picking up and playing and beating the crap out of somebody. But yeah, I think it's the characters that really cook people to fighting games, because if you don't know the characters by name, their faces become recognizable after a while. You remember their faces, their styles, their moves they use. Character like Martial Law, from Tekken, basically the Bruce Lee type, is a standard in fighting games. A lot of fighting games have like a character that is very Bruce Lee like. A lot of fighting games have a wrestler character. You notice, and that's another thing. My second thing I love about fighting games, they all have a similar pattern. Fighting games all have a similar. When you play one fighting game, you start to recognize there's something that you like in another one. So I can jump straight from Tekken to Dead or Alive or to Virtual Fighter with ease. And with Mortal Kombat, there's more differences, but even in Mortal Kombat, I recognize some of the similarities between them. In Mortal Kombat, you had, especially when it came to Deadly Alliance, you had multiple fighting styles per character. And a lot of these fighting styles were based on real life martial arts. And you have that in addition to some of their superpowers, like Sub-Zero had the freezing ability. Scorpion has fire, and he also has this spear. And you have Kitana, who has her awesome fans. I love Kitana so much. You have Molina with her sai blades, and with her cotton teeth, they'll just rip you apart. Her jaws are massive. You have someone like Kenshin, who's a applied swordsman, and you have so many similarities between characters from different fighting games. So just recently for the new Dead or Alive 6, they introduced a character named what was his name? They introduced another character in Dead or Alive 6 recently. Oh, Diego, yeah. They introduced a guy named Diego, who I can already, people are already pointing out he has very, very similar to Miguel from Tekken 6. Like, yeah, he's very, basically a street baller, Hispanic character. So you recognize that fighting games sometimes borrow stuff from other fighting games. Like Tekken and Dead or Alive borrowed a bunch from Virtua Fighter, but then those two became more popular than Virtua Fighter. So then Virtua Fighter started kind of arguably perhaps taking some notes from those games and put it into their game. The way you play the fighting games can be similar with high, mid, low attacks, punch and kick buttons. You have in most fighting games you have like a throw move where you grab them and you perform like a special move. Most fighting games have a long running combo of some sort. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, you had style bunch of combos, but each character had three fighting styles. But you had one combo that can actually go through, multiple combos that can go through multiple fighting styles, sometimes two or all three of them in one combo. And it was really cool to watch. I watched YouTube compilations of those. Also YouTube compilations of like 10-hit Tekken combos where you just, because Tekken has always been famous for having a 10-hit combo for every character. And those are tricky to do, and they're fun to watch, but at the same time they're not really useful. So I don't do them because it's too much of a hassle to do them for a miniature result, and sometimes you won't even land because it's easy to block or anticipate them a lot of times. But some characters, some people are masters and they can do it, and they can pull it off and throw you off guard with them. So you have a lot of different. So it's easy for me to jump to one fight from Tekken to Mortal Kombat, and I feel like I've learned so much about the fighting game world because I play. I kind of feel sorry for people who only play one fight. Like a lot of times, especially in America, people only play Mortal Kombat or Injustice, and I'm like, those are great. You should definitely. But if you're in the fighting games, like try out another one. Like try out Tekken, try out Dead or Alive. Please, because those games kick ass. Like you gotta try it. Like those games, I'm so addicted to those games. And in Japan, obviously, Tekken's a lot bigger. Tekken's the biggest in the world when it comes to Japan. But yeah, it's like there's so many different types of fighting games. There's so many different types of fighting games, but usually almost all have a lot in common and have taken inspiration from each other on certain things. And so it's easy to appreciate something in another fighting game that's similar to perhaps your favorite one. So yeah, I mean, the next thing I like about fighting games, the third thing is, and this is something that people don't actually comment on, but the stories, the ridiculous, over the top, convoluted, sometimes silly storylines. And some people complain. There's always a conversation like, who cares about a story? Or fighting games have the worst stories according to some people because who cares about the story? You just say to fight. It's like, yeah, that's true. Actually, I find the stories of fighting games, particularly Tekken and Mortal Kombat, very interesting. They have actually some depth to them, and characters actually are multi-dimensional and have a lot of interesting motivations to them and interesting, themes and twists and turns to their characters and to their motivations for entering them. If it's like a tournament, in most fighting games, especially the martial arts based one, it's a tournament based around some sort of tournament. Dead or Alive tournament, Mortal Kombat tournament, and Tekken's the King of Iron Fist tournament. In Street Fighter, it's I think it's called the Wood Warrior tournament, and then Virtua Fighter is the World Martial Arts tournament, I believe. But each fighting game, and then you also have Dragon Ball Z games. I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z. So you have Dragon Ball Z games that focus around the story of Dragon Ball Z, so it's easy to see the appeal for Dragon Ball Z fans with that, because they already know the story, and so you're just playing your favorite characters and your favorite matchups, and those are a lot of fun for that reason. And you got Injustice, which builds off the DC storyline, and an original storyline that they created for DC that's actually gone into the comics and influenced the comics themselves, which is amazing. And Injustice 2 was one of the better video game stories or fighting game stories I've ever seen, along with Mortal Kombat 9 and Tekken 4. Also have really good, I think, good stories. Yeah, it's and the stories, like I said, the stories for each character is fun to follow because there's a lot of it's very convoluted sometimes, but it's very sometimes they handle it very sloppy because they don't always put effort into cinematics, but sometimes it's fun at least to look into and like learn about. Because each character has an interesting, unique bio to them. Characters will have a certain age. Characters will age or de-age, like Nina and Tekken. You know, because she's the hot model of Tekken. Nina Williams is the most gorgeous woman in Tekken. They couldn't have her age. So when the 20-year time skip happened between Tekken 2 and Tekken 3, and Jin was introduced as a new main character in Tekken 3, they decided to make Nina put her in the cryo sleep, freeze her, have her frozen like Captain America in a test tube, and then wake up 20 years later the same age as before, while everybody else got 20 years older. It's a really interesting fact, and you would watch it and be like, hey, how come this character's old? How come Nina's never aged? But it actually explained the story. Look at the story, and so it's interesting stuff like that, you know, and it's fun to learn about, you know, and for me at least. And so yeah, fighting games have a lot to them, a lot in terms of the story, a lot in terms of the mechanics, in terms of the characters and the fighting styles and the way you play, and the unlockables. You know, there's a lot. To me, they make fighting games probably my favorite genre. I mean, I really love action-adventure games, superhero games too, but fighting games are really up there for me. You know, there's so much fun to play. They're so addictive. You can spend hours just fighting, either even the CPU or fighting online. Where online, that is tough. And that brings my next point is the competition on fighting games is on another level. Like, fighting games are, any game really online is gonna be crazy, gonna test you to the fullest and gonna probably frustrate you the hell out of you. But fighting games, you know, I've tried to play Knives and Tekken, I've tried to really get my skills, but Tekken is a hard game to learn. I mean, I spent my entire life. I mean, my very first game on the PS2 was Tekken Tag Tournament. My very first console game ever was Tekken Tag Tournament. I love Tekken, but and so I'm used to it. I'm familiar with it. I know. I'm memorized. I also remember. I know the characters' moves. You know, most of them. You know, most of the my main characters, at least for my favorite characters, like Nina or Asuka or Law or Lee Chaolan. I know the moves pretty well, but people online are just any character. The most character you think is useless or weak, they will destroy you, annihilate you with that character. It was the worst in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, where you had tag team combos or tag team throws. And on top of that, where they would just, the online players just would dominate you. They would take away half your health and juggle you before you would touch the ground for the first time. You would get a single hit in. It's crazy. Some of the stuff that they do online is crazy. But it's addictive. That's the thing. It's so addictive. I played hours of it, and I still to this day play it pretty regularly. I got into Dead or Alive, but my newest fighting game was Dead or Alive. So I was more of a Tekken Virtual Fighter fan growing up. But Dead or Alive was my newest. Dead or Alive 5 on PS4 was my newest. First on PS3, then on PS4 was my newest fighting game, and I fell in love with it so much. It's one of my favorites now. You know, I love it so much. It's so addictive to play. But man, the online players, you know, man, do they piss you off because they will annihilate you. You maybe make you feel like a noob, and I've been playing this game for months. And they make me feel like a noob. They dominate you. You know, you're like trying to play and you're just getting owned. You know, it's crazy. And I can definitely see some people quitting fighting games. I guess I've heard some people say that fighting games has lost their popularity because people are realize how much they suck. And I guess they don't want to put in the hours to get better, or just, you know, just accept it. But I mean, I accept that. I mean, I feel like I'm, you know, moderate player. I feel like I keep up with some people, but Yeah, it seems like I can't keep up with it. They're just too good. Like they just, I mean, this is the way it is. I try to put the hours in, but I mean, video games are everything. So you have a life, and so you can't always put the hours. Yeah, you can't put all the hours be the best, you know. And so, yeah, dude, like it's tough, but it's, you know, that's the way it is. Some people are just better than other people at certain things, you know. And but that's part of the fun about fighting games is that it's all about competition and friendly competition, and it's immensely fun to play. It's uh, got great graphics, great mechanics. Fighting, of course, fighting at its base level is just fun. Like we all wish we could fight somebody that we piss us off, but we don't in real life because it's not proper. It's not good to hurt people. But fighting games, for that reason, fighting games are really one of a kind. It's based like they are video games. For me, fighting games are video games at their base. Entry level, you pick up a controller and you fight. And it's based off of it's the most simple genre, yet it's arguably one of the deepest, or if not the deepest genre, with all the options available to you to fight. All the techniques you have to put into it, the strategy, you know, it could be like playing chess, but fast-paced chess, where you have to think on your feet and you can't stop to think like, hey, what should I hit low, should I hit high? And you gotta just go for it. Think on your feet and like constantly second guess yourself and the opponent. Especially it's crazy in Dead or Alive when you have all these reversals. So you have to reverse this person attack, then they can reverse your attack before you reverse their attack, and it's crazy. But it's much fun to play, you know, for that reason. We'd rather play like The Last of Us or something like that, or Metal Gear Solid, or something that's more in-depth, story-driven, an adventure, or Uncharted or Tomb Raider. I understand that those games are definitely what's smart. They definitely are, you know, where it's at, you know, too. But fighting games still have their place. That's why I love fighting games. And if you guys do too, let me down below. Let me know in the comments below what's your favorite fighting game, what fighting games you like. Do you like Mortal Kombat? Do you like Soul Calibur? Do you like Smash Brothers? Do you like Tekken? Like Dragon Ball fighting games, like Naruto fighting games, Injustice, Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, there's all kinds of fighting games I didn't even mention here. I don't even know all the. I just know the major ones. I don't know all the fighting games. Like, there's too many. You know, there's too many to name. But you know, just let me know in the comments below what you think. And you know, take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.